Okay, so are you ready to dive into something kind of wild today?
Always up for a deep dive. What do we have?
So get this. What if you could use your life insurance, the death benefit? What if you could use that before, well, you know,
Before you pass away. Yeah, that's a pretty interesting concept.
right. And that's what we're going to unpack today. It's called a chronic illness rider.
I've heard a bit about these riders. They're getting more and more attention these days.
Yeah, and we've got some info from Prudential. They've got some presentation slides that lay it all out. Different types of life insurance and how this rider works.
Sounds like a good starting point. So, what's our mission for this deep dive?
Well, I really want to figure out what this rider is all about, who it's for, how it actually works, and should we all be thinking about getting one?
Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, the slides talk about a few different types of life insurance, and I gotta be honest, this is all kind of new to me.
No worries. It can definitely feel like a whole new language at first. We've got universal life, indexed universal life, and variable universal life. Think of universal life like your basic customizable option. You've got some flexibility with premium payments and how much coverage you want.
Okay, so that's the starting point.
Yeah.
What about those other two? What makes them different?
Indexed universal life is interesting because it ties your potential gains to a specific market index, like the S&P 500. So your money has the chance to grow at a faster rate, but with a bit more protection compared to just investing directly in the stock market.
Oh, so it's like a little safety net built in.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Now, variable universal life is where things get really interesting. It's like having a mini investment portfolio within your policy. You get to choose from a range of investment options, and your returns directly impact your cash value.
So it's kind of like combining investing and life insurance.
Precisely. It has the potential for higher returns, but remember, it also comes with higher risk.
Makes sense. So it really depends on your risk tolerance and financial goals. But let's get back to the star of the show, this chronic illness rider. What's the deal with that?
So think of a rider as like an add-on to your life insurance policy. It's like adding a special feature or upgrade. In this case, the chronic illness rider lets you access a portion of your death benefit while you're still alive.
While you're still alive. That's pretty wild. So it's not just about protecting your loved ones after you're gone. It's about helping you while you're still here.
Exactly, and it's specifically designed to kick in if you're diagnosed with a qualifying chronic illness. It's like having a safety net that helps you cope with the financial challenges of a serious health condition.
Okay, so it's like an advance on your death benefit, but specifically for dealing with a chronic illness. That's a pretty powerful concept. Now, let's zoom in on Prudential's solution. What makes their chronic illness rider special?
Well, first off, it's available to people between the ages of 20 and 80, so it covers a pretty wide range of folks.
That's a pretty broad age range. So it's not just for older folks who are more likely to have health issues.
Nope, it's designed to provide that extra layer of protection throughout various stages of life. And the coverage amounts are pretty substantial, too. You can get coverage from $100,000 all the way up to $5 million.
$5 million. That's a serious chunk of change. But hold on, what exactly does chronically ill mean in Prudential's world?
Great question. They've got two main criteria. First, you need to be unable to perform at least 2 of the 6 activities of daily living for at least 90 days.
Activities of daily living, what are those?
You know, basic stuff we often take for granted. Things like bathing, dressing, eating, using the bathroom, being able to move around, stuff like that.
Oh, I see. So it's focused on conditions that really impact your ability to function independently.
Right. And the second criteria is having a severe cognitive impairment.
So something like Alzheimer's disease or dementia.
Exactly. Conditions that affect your memory, thinking, and decision-making abilities.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say someone meets those criteria. How do they actually go about accessing these benefits? How does it work?
So there are 2 main scenarios that Prudential looks at. Folks who are expected to recover and those who are not. If recovery is anticipated, there's a 90-day elimination period before the benefits kick in.
So like a waiting period.
Exactly. But if recovery isn't expected, the benefits can start as soon as Prudential approves the claim.
So there's always a bit of a wait, but they try to speed things up for those facing a more critical situation.
That's right. They recognize that every situation is unique, and they try to be as flexible as possible. Now, the slides also mention something about terminal illness.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Is that also covered under this rider?
Absolutely. For Prudential, a terminal illness means having a life expectancy of 6 months or less. Or in California, it's 12 months or less.
Oh, right. California always has its own unique rules. But it's good to know that this rider can also provide support in those situations. Okay, so we've covered the basics of who qualifies and when those benefits become available. But let's talk about how that money can actually be used. Are there any restrictions?
That's one of the best things about this rider. You can use the funds for absolutely anything, literally anything.
No kidding. So it's not just limited to medical expenses.
Nope. You need to modify your home to make it more accessible? Go for it. Want to try an experimental treatment that's not covered by insurance? You can use the money for that too. Travel expenses, caregiver support, even taking that dream vacation you've always wanted. It's completely up to you.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like having a safety net that truly adapts to your individual needs and desires, not just some rigid set of rules.
Exactly. It's about maintaining your quality of life, whatever that might look like for you in that moment.
Okay, so flexibility is a huge plus. What about other perks? I know the slides highlighted a few key features.
Right. So remember that life insurance death benefits are generally income tax-free, which is a huge advantage.
That's always a good thing. Less money going to Uncle Sam.
Exactly. Now, Prudential also offers flexible premium payments, so you're not locked into a rigid schedule.
That's a nice touch. Life can throw you curveballs, so having that flexibility is great.
Absolutely. And they also have this thing called cash value accumulation, which can be pretty cool.
Cash value accumulation. What's that all about?
Think of it like a savings account built into your life insurance policy. With certain types of life insurance, like universal life, your policy builds up cash value over time, and you can even borrow against it if you need to.
So it's like having a little nest egg tucked away within your life insurance.
Exactly. And then there's the no-lapse guarantee, which is all about peace of mind.
Okay, break that down for me. No lapse what?
No-lapse guarantee. It basically means that as long as you keep up with your premiums, your policy won't accidentally expire or lapse.
Oh, so no need to worry about missing a payment and losing your coverage?
Precisely. It's one less thing to stress about.
I'm all about stress reduction, so that's a big win in my book. So we've got tax-free benefits, flexible premiums, potential cash value, a no-lapse guarantee. What else?
Well, two more important things to remember. You have complete control over how you use those benefits, and get this, no receipts required.
Wait, seriously, no receipts? You're kidding. That's fantastic. No more digging through piles of paperwork to prove how you spent the money.
Exactly. It's about trusting you to use the funds in a way that best meets your needs. And that brings us to another fantastic feature, concierge care services.
Concierge care services. That sounds fancy. What's that all about?
Oh, this is where things get really interesting. Think of it like having a personal assistant, but for healthcare.
Ooh, like a healthcare concierge. I like the sound of that. But, I'm already kind of overwhelmed by all this insurance stuff. Is this going to be like another layer of complexity I got to deal with?
Not at all. It's actually designed to make things easier for you, especially when you're going through a tough time. It's all about providing extra support, not just for the policyholder, but also for their families and caregivers.
Okay, so it's like a support system for the whole crew.
Exactly. And the best part? It's provided at no extra cost.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah.
No extra fees for all that support? Prudential's really stepping up their game. So tell me more. What kind of support are we talking about here? What exactly do these concierge care services offer?
Well, imagine you've just been diagnosed with a serious illness. You're probably feeling a bit lost, right?
Oh, absolutely. Overwhelmed, confused, probably scared too.
Exactly. And that's where these services come in. They can help you find the right doctors, compare treatment costs, understand all those confusing medical terms, and even connect you with support groups and other resources. It's like having a guide through the healthcare maze.
That sounds incredibly helpful, especially when you're already dealing with so much. So it's not just about the financial side of things. It's about providing that extra layer of practical and emotional support.
You got it. It's about recognizing that a serious illness affects every aspect of your life, and they're trying to address those needs holistically.
I'm really impressed. This is way more than I expected from a life insurance company.
Yeah.
But okay, let's say I'm interested in these concierge services. How do I actually access them? Do I have to jump through a bunch of hoops?
Nope. Prudential's made it super easy. You can either visit their dedicated website or give them a call on their hotline.
Oh, so they've got both online and phone support. That's convenient. But what about the quality of these services? Are we talking about experienced professionals or just random people answering the phones?
Don't worry, they've got you covered. Prudential has partnered with a network of qualified experts in various fields like healthcare, social work, law, and even finance. These are people who are passionate about helping others and providing top-notch guidance.
Wow, so it's like a whole team of experts ready to assist you with whatever you need. That's pretty amazing. Okay, so we've talked a lot about Prudential, but are they the only ones offering these chronic illness riders? Are there other companies out there doing similar things?
Absolutely. While Prudential is definitely a leader in this space, other insurance companies are starting to catch on. They're realizing that people want more than just a death benefit. They want support and protection while they're still alive.
So it's becoming more of a common feature in life insurance policies.
That's the trend I'm seeing. It's becoming less of a niche offering and more of a mainstream option.
That's great news. But I imagine with more choices comes more research, right? If I'm shopping around for these riders, what are some key things I should be looking out for?
You're absolutely right. It's like buying anything else. You want to compare the features, benefits, and prices to make sure you're getting the best deal.
So it's not just about the name chronic illness rider, it's about the details, right? What kind of details should I be paying close attention to?
Well, first off, look closely at the qualifying conditions. Each company might have slightly different definitions of what constitutes a chronic illness or a terminal illness. Make sure the rider aligns with your specific needs and potential health concerns.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Exactly. And then, of course, you want to look at the benefit amount. How much of the death benefit can you actually access while you're still alive? Some riders offer a higher percentage than others.
Right, so bigger isn't always better. It's about finding the right fit for your situation.
Precisely. And don't forget to consider the elimination period. How long do you have to wait after diagnosis before you can tap into those funds?
Right, that waiting period could make a big difference, especially if you need those funds quickly. Man, there's a lot to consider. Before today, I didn't even know these riders existed. It's like a whole new world of possibilities has opened up.
It's definitely an exciting development in the insurance industry, and I think it reflects a growing awareness that people need more than just a traditional death benefit. They need support and protection while they're still living their lives.
Speaking of living your life,
Hmm?
we've talked a lot about the financial and logistical aspects of these riders,
Hmm.
but what about the emotional impact? Having this safety net in place,
Hmm.
knowing that you've got this extra layer of protection, how do you think that affects someone's mental and emotional well-being?
That's such an insightful question. I think it boils down to peace of mind. Imagine knowing that if you get hit with a serious illness, you don't have to worry about the financial burden on top of everything else. That peace of mind can be priceless.
Yeah, it's like taking a huge weight off your shoulders. You
Yeah.
can focus on getting better, spending time with loved ones, and making the most of your life.
Exactly. It's about shifting from fear and anxiety to empowerment and hope. Knowing that you have a plan in place, a safety net to catch you if you fall, that can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. It's about taking control of your situation, even when faced with a challenging diagnosis. I'm really intrigued by this whole concept of living benefits. It's such a powerful shift in how we think about life insurance. But, okay, before we get too carried away with all the positives, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the ethical side of things.
Ah, yes, the ethical considerations. That's an essential part of this conversation. It's not just about the benefits, it's about ensuring that these products are used responsibly and fairly.
So what kind of ethical questions pop up when we're talking about these chronic illness riders? What are some things we need to be mindful of?
Well, one big question is access. We've seen how beneficial these riders can be, but are they equally available to everyone? Are there barriers that might prevent certain people, like those with lower incomes or pre-existing conditions, from getting this kind of protection?
That's a crucial point. We need to make sure that these financial tools are accessible to everyone, regardless of their background or circumstances. It shouldn't be a luxury reserved for the wealthy or the healthy.
Absolutely. We need to advocate for policies that promote fairness and equal access to these resources. Everyone deserves the opportunity to have that peace of mind, that financial safety net in case of a serious illness.
Another thing that comes to mind is transparency. Are people getting clear and complete information about these riders? Do they fully understand the terms and conditions, any potential impact on their death benefit, all that fine print?
You're hitting on a vital point. People need to be empowered to make informed decisions, not pressured into signing something they don't fully understand. It's about building trust and open communication between insurance companies and policyholders.
Exactly. It shouldn't be about tricky sales tactics or burying crucial information in the fine print. It should be about honesty and transparency. empowering people to make the best choices for their individual needs. Now, while these riders sound amazing, I can also see how they could be marketed in a way that might prey on people's fears, like using scare tactics to make people feel like they absolutely need this rider to protect themselves.
You're right to be cautious. We need to be wary of marketing practices that exploit anxieties or overpromise benefits. Responsible marketing should focus on education and empowerment, not fear-mongering.
I completely agree. It's about giving people the information they need to make smart choices, not using their worries to push a sale. Are there any other ethical considerations we should keep in mind?
Well, one more to think about is conflicts of interest. If an insurance agent earns more commission by selling a particular rider, are they putting your needs first, or are they just trying to boost their own profits?
Hmm, that's a tough one. It makes me think that getting advice from an independent financial advisor can be really helpful. Someone who's not tied to a specific company can offer more objective guidance.
That's a smart move. It's always wise to get a second opinion and make sure you're making the best decision for your unique situation. Don't be afraid to ask questions, shop around, and compare different options before committing to anything.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty details of chronic illness riders to the broader implications for families, healthcare, and even society as a whole.
Yeah.
But before we wrap things up, I have one final thought-provoking question for you. And this one gets to the heart of why I'm so fascinated by these riders.
Oh, I'm all ears.
We've talked about the financial benefits, the incredible support system, all the practical stuff. But it makes me wonder about the deeper emotional impact. Having this safety net in place, knowing that you've got this extra layer of protection, does it actually affect someone's mental and emotional well-being? Does it change how they feel about their illness, their future?
That's such a profound question, and I think it gets to the heart of why these riders are so much more than just a financial product. Imagine this. You're facing a serious illness, but you don't have to carry the weight of financial worry on top of everything else. You can focus on healing, on spending precious time with your loved ones, on living your life to the fullest.
It's like taking back control, replacing that fear and uncertainty with a sense of peace and possibility.
Exactly. It's about reclaiming your narrative, saying, yes, life threw me a curveball, but I'm equipped to handle it. I've got this. And that shift in mindset, that sense of empowerment can have a profound impact on your emotional well-being.
Okay, before we wrap things up, there's one more piece of this puzzle we haven't discussed yet. We've talked about all the positive aspects, but let's not shy away from the potential downsides.
You mean the potential drawbacks or risks associated with these riders?
Exactly. What are some things that people should be aware of before jumping in? Are there any red flags to watch out for?
That's a great point. It's important to go into this with your eyes wide open. One potential drawback is the cost. Adding a rider to your life insurance policy will increase your premiums. So you need to weigh the benefits against the added expense and make sure it fits within your budget.
Right. It's all about finding that balance between protection and affordability.
Absolutely. And another thing to consider is the impact on your death benefit. Some riders allow you to access a significant portion of your death benefit while you're alive, which means there might be less left over for your beneficiaries when you pass away.
Ah, so it's a bit of a trade-off.
In a way, yes. You're essentially accelerating access to a portion of your death benefit to use while you're still alive, which means there might be less left over for your loved ones later on. It's a decision that requires careful consideration and planning.
It's like choosing between immediate needs and long-term legacy planning.
Exactly. And it's a choice that's highly personal and depends on your individual circumstances and priorities. There's no right or wrong answer, but it's crucial to have all the information and weigh the pros and cons carefully.
And speaking of information, I think it's essential to do your research, compare different riders, and maybe even consult with a financial advisor to make sure you're making the best decision for your situation.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power, and in this case, it could also bring a whole lot of peace of mind. Don't hesitate to ask questions, shop around, and advocate for your needs.
Well, this conversation has been eye-opening in so many ways. Chronic illness riders offer incredible benefits, but it's also important to consider the potential drawbacks and the ethical aspects. It's not a decision to be taken lightly, but it's certainly a conversation worth having.
I couldn't agree more. These riders represent a significant shift in how we think about life insurance, and they have the potential to make a real difference in people's lives.
Absolutely. It's about moving beyond the traditional focus on death and embracing the concept of living benefits, providing support and protection when people need it most. And with that, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the world of chronic illness riders.
It's been an incredible journey, and I hope our listeners feel empowered to explore these options, ask questions, and make informed decisions for their future.
I couldn't agree more. Remember, knowledge is power, and in this case, it could also bring a whole lot of peace of mind. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep. So we've talked about the financial benefits and this amazing support system, and it makes me think about the emotional side of things. Like, having this safety net, does it change someone's, mental and emotional well-being? How do they feel?
That is such a good question, and it really highlights why these riders are so important. Just imagine dealing with a serious illness, but not having to stress about money on top of everything else. You can focus on getting better and spending time with family and friends, maybe even chasing those dreams you've had to put on hold.
It's like you can finally relax and focus on what really matters, right?
Yeah. It's like taking back control. Instead of fear and uncertainty, you can have peace and look forward to things.
It's like instead of being afraid of what might happen, you can actually start living again.
Exactly. It's like saying, okay, life is tough right now, but I can handle it.
I love that. Okay, so we've talked about all the good stuff, but before we wrap up, we got to talk about the ethics of it all.
The ethical side, yeah, that's important. We need to make sure these riders are used responsibly and fairly.
So what kind of ethical questions come up when we're talking about these riders? What should we be thinking about?
Well, one big one is access. These riders are great, but are they available to everyone? Like, are there barriers for people maybe with lower incomes or pre-existing conditions? Can they get this protection?
That's a really important point. We need to make sure these financial tools are available to everyone, no matter their background or what their health is like.
Absolutely. It shouldn't be a luxury only for the wealthy or healthy. Everyone deserves that peace of mind, that financial safety net, if they get sick.
I totally agree. We need policies that make sure everyone has fair and equal access to these resources. What else should we be thinking about?
Transparency is a big one, too. Are people getting clear and complete information about these riders? Do they really understand all the terms and conditions? Do they know how it might affect their death benefit? All that fine print.
Yeah, because you don't want to sign up for something without knowing exactly what you're getting into.
Right. People need to be able to make informed choices. They shouldn't be pressured into signing something they don't understand. It's about trust and open communication between the insurance companies and the people buying these policies.
It's about being upfront and honest, not trying to trick people with hidden fees or confusing terms.
Exactly. It should be about empowering people to make the best choices for themselves. And we should also be wary of marketing that plays on people's fears.
Yeah.
Like using scare tactics to make people think they absolutely need this rider, even if they don't.
Oh yeah, those ads can be scary. What if you get sick and you can't afford treatment? Makes me anxious just thinking about it.
Right. But responsible marketing should be about educating people, not scaring them. It's about giving them the information they need to make smart decisions, not exploiting their anxieties to make a sale.
I agree. It's about being honest and transparent, not manipulative. Are there any other ethical issues we should consider?
Conflicts of interest are definitely something to think about. If an insurance agent makes more money by selling a particular rider, are they really putting your needs first? Or are they just trying to line their own pockets?
That's a tough one. It's like, who can you trust?
That's why it's always a good idea to get a second opinion. Talk to an independent financial advisor, someone who's not tied to any specific insurance company. They can give you more objective advice and help you make the best decision for your situation.
That's a great tip. So do your research, shop around, ask lots of questions, and don't be afraid to get a second opinion.
Exactly. Knowledge is power. And in this case, it could also bring a lot of peace of mind.
Well, this has been an amazing deep dive. We've learned so much about chronic illness riders, the good, the bad, and the ethical stuff, too.
It's been a great conversation. These riders are a big deal, and they can really change how people think about life insurance.
I hope our listeners feel empowered to explore these options, ask questions, and make the best choices for themselves and their families.
I hope so, too.
Remember, knowledge is power. And in this case, it could also bring a lot of peace of mind. Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.